I'm Rosie Hardy. This is Rosie Hardy Gardening. Please do enjoy watching these videos and do subscribe to the channel. In this particular video, we're going to concentrate on something that is called garden editing, or planning for what you want to do for the next season. This time of year, during the winter months, is an ideal time for you to be able to do that. And it's great because a lot of people just haven't got perhaps the time over the Christmas period and that sort of thing, or it's just too dark outside, or weather doesn't permit you to actually get out into the garden and do anything. So use this time wisely. So the time that you would have put forward to going out into the garden, start and think about what you want to do, what you want to achieve in the next year, in the growing season that's coming. And there are all sorts of things that you can plan. So what you really need to do is you perhaps need to have some graph paper like this, and you can draw out what your borders are. So for instance, if you've got a border that is, say, 4 meters, well, that's 5 meters long, and it's only 2 meters wide, you can do it in scale using graph paper. I tend to use graph paper because I don't like using the computer to try and draw things out. I quite like to be able to use a pencil with a rubber, because you're always going to make a few mistakes, and then you can look at this bit of paper and you go, well, that's my border, but it's not quite that shape. But you know the back of it is 5 meters, you know the front of it is actually 4 meters, but it comes down as a sort of curve, and it comes down like this. So you can utilize the lines of the graph paper to get what you actually want. So now you can erase out that bit, and you don't need the corners here, and you've got your beautiful curved bed like so, which is what you've got planted. Now that's great on a piece of paper like this. You know it's there, you know it's that. Where are the plants? So what I always suggest to people when you're wanting to do something like this and you're wanting to plan it is, we all take pictures of our garden, but do we do it every single month? Do we stand in exactly the same position in the garden and take 2 or 3 pictures of a border, so that in the winter you may think you remember where everything is, you may think you remember how it all went and which plant you want to change and which plant you want to prune in a different way, but you won't really remember that. So what you need to be doing is you need to take a point. So say every single time that you take a photograph of this border, you stand at that position so you can see down that way. You stand directly in front of it so you get the whole of this bit, and you stand at the other end like that, and you take another picture like that. And you do that in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Now, some of those photographs are going to look very, very similar, especially if you are in a country where you get a lot of snowfall. So basically, you're not going to see anything in those borders. However, you might, because what you have to remember is, if you've got shrubs in there and they are beautifully pruned, maybe they're round or maybe they're just very abstract, the snow will settle and you will get beautiful shapes. So even if you've got that type of garden, you can still take those pictures, because you may suddenly go, oh, I actually don't like that there. And then from those pictures, you can say, right, this year I must make sure by the time we get to September or even October, I must have pruned that shrub. I must get it into a reasonable shape so that when we get frost or when we get snowfall, it looks beautiful. And you've got to remember, when plants are skeletons in the winter, they still have style, they still look really, really good. So why is this now called garden editing? It used to be just planning. Well, the thing is, you're editing out or editing in what you want to do. And that means you may think, right, I've got this wonderful shrub here, and I know I've got an evergreen shrub down there, and there's a tree that comes all the way through here, and that's where their centres are. This is deciduous, this is evergreen, this is evergreen. What am I doing? How am I growing those? Am I growing them to be free form, as they should be naturally? Or am I clipping them and cutting them back so that I am keeping them under control for what I like? And what you have to remember is that with your gardens and other people's gardens, that everybody has a different idea. I don't have a problem if somebody clips all of their shrubs into little round balls or conical shapes all the time. That's what they like. It is their garden. If you like a more free-flowing form, then you do that in your garden. And remember, it is all about your garden, you enjoying the space, but you are also there to change it slightly when you want to. So when you've taken these photographs, for instance, so I've got my own gravel garden, and pictures are taken in the summer or in the spring. It's full. It has euphorbias, it's got grass, it's got verbenas, it's got nigellas. I've also got rambling, climbing perennial sweet pea, which I just allow to scramble along the ground because I haven't got anything for it to go up on. So when you look at that, it looks really, really full. However, when you get to a time when you have it in the winter time, so as in now, there's only a bit of evergreen on the euphorbias. The verbena has died back, but its stems are still there. And there's the brown haulm of that perennial sweet pea. And I've come to the conclusion I don't want as many of it around. And I have been quite good this year at remembering to go and cut the dead heads off so that it doesn't self-seed there too much. So with the editing in my gravel garden, it's a matter of going through and thinning out things. One year I went and thinned out the Linaria purpurea far too much, and it's only just now that I am getting my beautiful spikes of this lovely deep purple back into there. And so for this season, because I've taken the photographs, I can remember I need more. I will leave that plant be and I will just allow it. And you can go through the season and you can edit things. But this is what the editing is about. This is about looking at those photographs, thinking about what it is that you want to remove, what it is you may want to plant in there, and then with your plan like this, you can then go, oh, I want to put a plant in here, and that is going to be something like a potentilla. And then you can work out which one you're going to have. I want to put something spiky in here, so you know, you remember, so you put it in, and then that will give you your effect of what you're trying to do, what you're wanting to do. So this is a very simple way of doing plans. You can be much more artistic, and if you've got you can do things like this on your computer. This is just a very simple 3 metre border by 1.5 metre border. This one was for shade, and it's a matter of putting the plants in and knowing how big they're going to get and placing them so that you've got interest. So these are spiky plants, these are full foliage, and that way it works quite nicely. Now you can, if you find you can't work from a plan, then that is absolutely fine. You also get something, you know, like this. You can add colour into it, so you can go, oh, well, I want to have dark green in one place, I want to have some browny bronzy foliage in another place, I want to have really tall and big at the back, and you know, you can sort it out. So this is what it is all about. This garden editing is all about deciding where things are going, what they're doing, and you will make mistakes. We all make mistakes, because something will grow really far too big and you'll go, oh, crumbs. And that's where the photographs come in, because you can see that plant, you can remember where it is, you can go out to your border and go, gosh, I've got to take, that has got to come out. And that's what you're trying to do. With this particular garden, this is someone who I help out. She had this huge big hydrangea which was dominating the bed. Yes, it was great because a clematis could grow up it, but it was so large. It was probably 1 metre from the window right the way through, probably 1.5 meters, 2 meters across the bed. Front of the border was absolutely fine, but it was not being, you know, it was above the window. You can't see, there are another 4 panes there, and basically it just wasn't earning its keep. So I said to her, and she's got to make life a bit easier in a garden, I said, right, what you need to do is you need to take that plant out. And when I got the photographs back, you can now see with this photograph here, you know, that huge big shrub was taking up a massive amount of space. So now we've got all of this area to be able to look at and replant up with something completely different. So if you look at it on a plan, the conservatory is basically here, the window is there, this is the house wall here. There's planting all the way through here, which is perfectly fine, and it goes on to a hedge there. But what has happened, that big plant has come out of this space here, and we've got all of this here to be able to put something new in. And it means that from the conservatory, they've now got a view out over the rest of the garden, and we can put lower things in here or just see-through plants so that we are able to put it all through. There is a colour theme through this border, which is golden yellows, pinks, mauves, and white as well in there, and a lot of structure. So it's quite a lovely idea that we can now actually, and it's not a small area, we're talking about something, you know, 3-4 square meters, so it's a good area. That shrub was just one shrub. So sometimes with editing you've got to be really, really bold and just take something out that is not working and then give yourself something else. What you've got to remember is gardens don't sit in aspect. Plants grow. Plants change their sizes. They sometimes don't do well one year, another year they do quite well. Your taste changes, there are new plants. Gardens are for growing things. Gardens are for trying new ideas. So don't be worried if you sort of think, oh, I don't like that. Well, if you don't like it, take it out, start again, do something else. The garden will recover and you will be amazed at what you can do. This is going to be fantastic this summer when we've got new plants in here. And also, they haven't got quite so much shade into that area of the conservatory there, which is great because that's actually a east-facing window, so they're not in there first thing in the morning. So the rest of the time they are able to, actually it's northeast, so it doesn't get a lot of light anyway, and with a plant in front of the windows, even less light into the conservatory. So it's a win-win situation, taking something big out that really doesn't play any part in your design and start afresh with something new. And you don't have to do the whole border, you just do bits at a time. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel.